For more, let's cross to Brussels and correspondent Dave Keating. That was one of two announcements on vaccines.
Yeah, we also got news that the agreement to buy 200 million more doses from Pfizer was officially signed. That's actually not new news. That a deal was reached in early January. But that Moderna news is new, and it's actually quite surprising because Moderna was not supposed to be a big part of the EU's vaccination strategy. Its production capacity in Europe is fairly limited, and so far it really hasn't been used very much. The big emphasis has been on Pfizer. And of course, originally, before Pfizer pulled ahead, it was supposed to be AstraZeneca that was the main vaccine being used in the EU. But of course, we've seen a big conflict between the Commission and AstraZeneca about AstraZeneca not delivering the doses that the Commission says it promised. And also we've seen several EU member states decide not to give the AstraZeneca vaccine to people over 65 because they think they don't have enough data from the company for people in that age group. Those countries include France and Germany. So it may be that this Moderna purchase is trying to make up for the hesitancy about AstraZeneca in continental Europe. But that being said, just throwing money at the Moderna vaccine isn't going to be able to make the company magically deliver vaccines when it doesn't have the production capacity in Europe. So that was a little confusing, that announcement today. We also got an announcement that the Commission has come out with a plan to deal with the new variants that are emerging. They are going to be doing more sequencing. Europe has really majorly lagged in sequencing of COVID when compared to Israel and the UK, for instance. And also they're going to speed up approval for vaccines that have already been approved but make adjustments in order to deal with new variants. So in other words, if the Pfizer vaccine altered itself in order to deal with the new variants, it would need new approval, but that could be fast-tracked under these new procedures adopted today. Finally, yesterday we got news that Johnson & Johnson has applied for EU approval. The EMA is still going to be using the longer, more robust conditional market authorization process, but they think they can make that happen a little faster than has happened so far, and they're hoping for approval by mid-March for that Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
You mentioned how to deal with variants. Let's listen to the Commission president.
It's not a vaccine is there and we're over with the whole story, but that we'll go into a race against that virus that is raging around the world, and by being more and more contagious, the possibility for the virus to mutate is there. So we will always have to be vigilant to be able, if there escape mutations, to fight them with improved vaccines, to produce them, and mainly over time to vaccinate ongoing the vulnerable groups in the population.
Yeah, you got to wonder, listening to Ursula von der Leyen, whether or not, Dave Keating, we can just forget for now this concept of reaching herd immunity.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big fear here, that as these new variants develop, that the vaccines aren't going to be able to keep pace. Now, so far, it does look like at least the Pfizer vaccine is effective against these new variants. But of course, new variants are going to emerge. It's a normal part of a virus's evolution. So the big point of this plan put forward by the Commission today is to try to give the maximum amount of flexibility when dealing with these new variants, and most importantly, to identify them early on. I mean, one of the reasons why one of those strains is named the British strain is simply because the UK has been very good about sequencing and identifying different strains of the vaccine, of the virus rather, and it was identified in the UK, but it probably didn't start in the UK. It probably started somewhere else, and the UK just identified it. So this, in particular, this push for labs to start sequencing the new types, and once someone gets diagnosed with COVID, that diagnosis comes with a sequencing so they can identify when possible strains happen, and also look at kind of walling off people who might have that, or regions where the new variant is spiraling out of control.